Assalamu alaikum. I am Dr. Asmaul Husna, Associate Professor, Department of Pathology, Boshundhara Addin Medical College, Dhaka. My dear student, hope all of you are doing well. Welcome to you all today's pathology online class, and this is the second lecture of endocrine system. In our previous class, I have discussed about hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. Today I am going to discuss about the rest of the disease of thyroid gland. First of all, about thyroiditis. You know, itis is the suffix of inflammation. So, thyroiditis as a definition defined as a diverse group of disorder which is characterized by some form of thyroid inflammation. It can classified in several categories like infectious thyroiditis, which can also classified into acute or chronic thyroiditis. Then subacute lymphocytic thyroiditis, subacute granulomatous thyroiditis, Hashimoto thyroiditis and Riedl's thyroiditis. Now, I am going to elaborate about Hashimoto thyroiditis. What is Hashimoto thyroiditis? It is an autoimmune thyroiditis. In your prof examination, you will commonly face a question, what are the types of autoimmune thyroiditis? There are two types of autoimmune thyroiditis. One is Hashimoto thyroiditis and another one is Graves' disease. What are the basic difference in between them? In case of Hashimoto thyroiditis, patient develop hypothyroidism, but in case of Graves' disease, patient develop hyperthyroidism. Now, Hashimoto thyroiditis is an insidiously developing condition and characterized by gradual thyroid failure because of an autoimmune mediated destruction of the thyroid gland. It most commonly occur between 45 and 65 years of age, and the female is more common than the male, and the ratio between the female and the male is 20:1 to 10:1. It can also occur in children and is a major cause of non-endemic goiter in the pediatric population. Now, pathogenesis. How the Hashimoto thyroiditis is developed? As I have already mentioned you that it is an autoimmune thyroiditis, and you know what is autoimmune disease. It is the condition when there is a production of antibody against self antigen. So, Hashimoto thyroiditis is caused by a breakdown in self tolerance to thyroid autoantigen, and there are presence of circulating autoantibody against thyroglobulin and thyroid peroxidase. There are multiple immunological mechanisms that contribute to the death of thyrocyte, and the effector mechanism include number 1, CD8 plus cytotoxic T cell mediated cell death, number 2, cytokine mediated cell death, and number 3, binding of autothyroid antibody followed by antibody dependent cell mediated cytotoxicity. This is the picture showing the pathogenesis of Hashimoto thyroiditis. So, how they are act? CD8 plus cytotoxic T cell mediated cell death directly destroy the thyroid follicular cell, but cytokine mediated cell death there is activation of CD4 plus T helper cell, and when there is a activation of CD4 plus T helper cell, it secretes some inflammatory cytokine like interferon gamma, and you know that interferon gamma ultimately activated the macrophage, and when there is activation of the macrophage, it destroy the thyrocyte or thyroid follicle. And the less likely mechanism involve binding of anti-thyroid antibody, that means anti-thyroglobulin, anti-thyroid peroxidase antibody, which is followed by antibody dependent cell mediated cytotoxicity. Now, my dear students, what are the clinical features of a Hashimoto thyroiditis? Patient have thyroid enlargement, but there is no pain. He or she develop painless goiter, and patient also develop hypothyroidism with their associated symptom like weight gain, feeling tired, constipation, depression and general pain. Now, the morphology of Hashimoto thyroiditis. In case of histopathology, when we observe morphology, we have to observe gross examination and also the microscopic examination. In gross examination, we will find the thyroid gland is diffusely enlarged with an intact capsule, and the cut surface is pale yellow tan and firm. And in microscopic examination, it reveals an exuberant infiltrate of lymphocyte, plasma cell and macrophage, which also form germinal center, and there are presence of Hardel cell or oncocyte, and these Hardel cell have abundant granular eosinophilic cytoplasm, and also there are presence of fibrosis. This is the microscopic pictures of Hashimoto thyroiditis. Here the thyroid parenchyma contains a dense lymphocytic infiltrate with germinal center, and the residual thyroid follicle lined by deeply eosinophilic Hardel cells. Now, dear student, let us our next topics, and that is Graves' disease. Like Hashimoto thyroiditis, Graves' disease also an autoimmune thyroiditis, but it is characterized by triad of three clinical features. One is hyperthyroidism, which mainly occur due to hyperfunctional diffuse enlargement of the thyroid gland. Then infiltrative ophthalmopathy with resultant exophthalmos, and lastly localized infiltrative dermopathy, and the age incidence is between 20 to 40 years, and here also female has predisponence than the male. This is the picture showing exophthalmos patient suffering from Graves' disease. Now, come to the pathogenesis. Graves' disease is an autoimmune disorder which is caused by activation of thyroid epithelial cells by autoantibodies to the thyroid stimulating hormone receptor that mimic thyroid stimulating hormone action, and the result is the production of multiple autoantibodies including thyroid stimulating immunoglobulin, thyroid growth stimulating immunoglobulin, thyroid stimulating hormone binding inhibitor immunoglobulins. How they act? In case of thyroid stimulating immunoglobulin, an immunoglobulin G antibody that binds to the thyroid stimulating hormone receptor and mimics the action of thyroid stimulating hormone, and so there is stimulation of adenyl cyclase, and the resultant is increased release of thyroid hormone. Almost all persons with Graves' disease have detectable amount of this autoantibody, which is relatively specific for Graves' disease. Then thyroid growth stimulating immunoglobulin, this antibody have been implicated in the proliferation of thyroid follicular epithelium. Then thyroid stimulating hormone binding inhibitor immunoglobulin. These anti-thyroid stimulating hormone receptor antibodies prevent thyroid stimulating hormone from binding to its receptor on the thyroid epithelial cells, and in so doing may actually inhibit thyroid cell function. So, there is a coexistence of stimulating and inhibiting immunoglobulins in the serum of the same patient is not unusual, and this is an important finding that may explain why some patients with Graves' disease spontaneously develop episodes of hypothyroidism. Now come to the morphology. This is the gross picture of a Graves' disease. Here the thyroid gland is diffusely enlarged, the capsule is intact and the curved surface is soft and meaty. This is the histological pictures of a Graves' disease. Histologically, the follicular epithelial cells in untreated cases are tall and more crowded than usual. This crowding often results in the formation of small papillae, which projects into the follicular lumen and encroach on the colloid, sometimes filling the follicles. Such papillae lack fibrovascular core in contrast to those of papillary carcinoma. That means, in case of papillary carcinoma, we also observe that there are presence of papilla, but what are the difference between those papilla and this papilla? In Graves' disease, the papilla we found there are no presence of fibrovascular core, but in case of papillary carcinoma, the papilla must be presence of fibrovascular core. And the colloid within the follicular lumen is pale with scalloped margin, lymphoid infiltrates consisting predominantly of T cells along with scattered B cells and mature plasma cells are present throughout the interstitium. Now come to the laboratory findings of a Graves' disease. In case of Graves' disease, we can observe that there are elevation level of free T3 and the T4 level and depressed TSH level. And because of ongoing stimulation of the thyroid follicles by thyroid stimulating immunoglobulins, radioiodine scans show a diffusely increased uptake of iodine. This is all about today, my dear student. Inshallah, see you again in the next class. Till then, Allah Hafiz.